How terrifying is loneliness? Africa, 1943. A bomber named King 9 crashes in the middle of a desert. Among the scattered wreckage, a man regains consciousness, groggy and confused. He looks at the wrecked plane. Shaking, he slowly gets to his feet. This bomber was supposed to be heading to Italy for a bombing mission, but somewhere along the way, it was hit by an anti-aircraft shell. Now here he is, stranded in the desert. Suddenly hits him, his crew. He's Captain Mac, and there were 5 other men with him. They all fell together. He climbs onto the plane and crawls inside, opening the sealed window. He calls out the names of his crew members over and over, but no one answers. Struggling, Mac makes his way to the back of the plane, but the comm station is empty, too. He wonders if he had been ejected from the cabin during the crash, but something strange. The parachutes are still there. Suddenly, he hears static from the headphones. Mac quickly picks them up and grabs the radio. He keeps calling the control tower, but the only response is a hum of static. Frustrated, he reaches for a cigarette to calm his nerves, but there isn't a single one. He forces himself to stay calm. He's the captain. He has to be responsible for his men. Then, someone knocks on the fuselage. Mac shouts, "Blake!" He rushes out of the plane, but to his disappointment, it's only the sound of the wing rattling. Mac, irritated, rips the wing off in frustration. As he turns to go back to the cockpit, something strange happens. A hat appears on the ground out of nowhere. He picks it up and puts it on his head, only to notice a water bottle nearby. It has the name Clay written on it. Mac kept looking around frantically, his eyes darting across the empty desert, but there was no sign of anyone. He laughed at first, but then his laughter cracked into despair. He collapsed to the ground, muttering, "This can't be a joke." Thirsty, he grabbed his water bottle to take a drink, but as he lifted it to his lips, the water spilled out. A man was sitting in the cockpit, staring at him with a strange, unsettling smile. Mac froze in shock and shouted Blake's name. He rushed toward the cockpit, but as he got closer, Blake vanished. Mac touched the empty seat, confused and trembling. He turned around, yelling, "Stop playing around." As captain, he had to be responsible for his men, but Mac couldn't hold it together anymore. He had been trying to reach the control tower for an hour and a half, but there was still no response. A sense of dread crept in. Was all of this just an illusion? Was it all a hallucination in a dream? But he had clearly seen Blake sitting there. Desperate, Mac ran up a nearby hill, shouting the names of his crew. He pushed through the trees and stumbled upon a gravestone lying on the ground. He knelt in disbelief. It was the grave of his teammate Clay. As he prayed for his fallen comrades to rest in peace, he looked up at the sky, his brow furrowing in confusion. What was that plane up there? As a pilot, Mac had never seen anything like it. Mac screamed at the jet, his anger boiling over. What the hell is going on here? Terrified, he rushed back to the plane. He called out to his teammates, asking if they'd ever heard of jet aircraft. But why did he know about jets? Mac urged them desperately to move the plane, to lift it up, get the wheels down, and try to take off. They could make it back home, he was sure of it. But no matter how hard Mac pushed, the plane didn't budge. He started laughing, hysterically, as the truth hit him. None of this was real. It was all in his mind. Maybe he was already dead. Or maybe he was lying in some military hospital, in some room somewhere. Suddenly, Mac looked up in horror, his jaw dropping. He screamed the names of his crew, and there they were, 5 teammates, all smiling at him. But as he ran toward them, they vanished in an instant. Mac reached out, his hands grasping at nothing, begging for them to come back. He collapsed, unable to hold it together anymore, lying in the sand, alone in the empty desert. He was here, experiencing the highest level of loneliness. Mac clutched at the sand, desperate. And then, he was lying in a hospital bed, his hands still gripping the sheets. The doctor was reading his patient's file. Mac, 41 years old, single. He had collapsed after reading the newspaper this morning. By the time the ambulance arrived, he was unconscious. The 2 doctors stared at the newspaper. It reported that a World War II bomber had been found in the desert, the King 9. The doctor had verified Mac's identity with the military. He was the captain of an Air Force B-25 who had retired in 1943 after suffering from recurrent fevers. The doctor suspected it was psychological trauma. Mac's plane and crew had been headed for Italy, but Mac was too sick to join them. His teammates never returned, and for the past 17 years, Mac had been carrying the guilt. Then, Mac woke up from the dream and told the doctor everything. He spoke of how he had returned to the desert, found his plane, but all he had found were the ghostly images of his lost crew. Suddenly, Mac said something that left the 2 doctors stunned. He told them that while he was in the desert, a jet had flown right above him. The doctors were speechless. They couldn't process what he had just said. Mac couldn't believe it either. How could he have seen a jet in 1943? It was as if he had just stepped into the desert today. The doctor tried to reassure him, saying it was just a dream, that he had only gone back in his mind. They both left the room, but at least Mac could now admit his guilt, something he hadn't been able to before. Just then, a nurse came in with Mac's clothes. The doctor told her to place them on the table, but when she emptied his shoes, sand fell out. Sand that shouldn't have been there. Doctor stared at it in confusion, unable to understand. Had Mac really been back to the desert?